morning, 10 minutes before the hour. Thank you so much for joining us on the Weather Channel. You've tuned in just in time for Storm Watch. We've been watching some thunderstorms develop this morning over the western parts of Kansas. Locally heavy rain along Interstate 70. Be careful if you are venturing out within the next 30 minutes back toward the Goodland area. Look at the radar in just a moment. Of course, a part of our Storm Watch is the Tropical Update. We'll start this edition of Storm Watch with the Tropical Update, as a matter of fact. Let's show it to you then as we begin with our points of origin for tropical storms and or hurricanes. Now, over the last 110 years, we have had about 37 tropical storms and hurricanes to develop. During the week of the 21st through the 31st, so the 2 weeks of the latter part of July, each of these dots represents where we've had tropical storm formation. So you can get the idea that these areas, based on climatology, are a little more conducive perhaps for tropical development this time of year. The Gulf of Mexico, the Bay of Campeche, the extreme western Atlantic basin, even closer to the islands here, a little east of the Leeward and the Windward Islands, and we start to expand our view actually a little closer to the African coast for possible development this time of year. Of course, this is only climatology. It does not indicate that these areas are favored this morning for tropical development, but it does mean that these are areas that we certainly need to watch very closely. And that's what we've been doing, because based on climatology, these areas could become active. But for now, things are quiet. Certainly the Gulf of Mexico void of any tropical development. The Caribbean looking pretty good this morning. We've been watching clear skies develop across the Bahamas all morning, and even yesterday, a beautiful day in Nassau and Freeport and Grand Bahama Island. If you're planning a quick getaway this weekend and taking a Caribbean cruise, what a great idea, as we have no tropical systems out here to threaten your cruise or anything. We have been watching this blob of storms, little weak disturbance, as it has developed over the west central Atlantic here, developed just yesterday afternoon, and it does look as though the convection is starting to increase a little bit with this system. It's not a tropical wave actually, it's just an area of disturbed weather, conglomeration of thunderstorms here, and again the convection is starting to increase. It looks as though it's a pretty good ways away from the Bahamas right now, and just to the west of it we do have an upper level low pressure system, and if these two continue to move in tandem, then that could be an impeding force on this system in terms of it organizing into anything. So we don't really anticipate too much to develop from this system, but we will definitely watch it very closely, simply because of its proximity, of course, to the northern Bahamas and Florida. Right now, it is not a tropical depression, not a tropical storm or anything, and not even necessarily detected as a tropical wave. It does have some characteristics of a tropical wave, but mainly it's just an area of thunderstorms developing this morning. A broader perspective shows the thunderstorm cluster here on this picture, but other than that, fair skies across the Bahamas as well as the Gulf of Mexico. Quiet for the Caribbean this morning. Another little weak wave approaching the islands, but it's pretty good ways away and not nearly as impressive as this one up to the north and west. A broader perspective shows that very same little cluster of storms across the central Atlantic, and as we go into the eastern Atlantic we see a couple of more waves coming off the African coast, but we have a long time to watch these waves as they try and propagate west across the Atlantic basin. But for now we have no organized tropical systems in the Atlantic. We do have an organized tropical system in the eastern Pacific, Tropical Storm Darby. It's moving west-northwest at 10 miles an hour. There you see it. It's centered, if you're plotting with us, 13.7 degrees north, 115.8 west. That makes it about 670 miles south-southwest of Cabo San Lucas, right here, the southern tip of Baja, Mexico. Now, Darby could become a hurricane by this time tomorrow as it continues to flare up here with the convection and closer to the center, even a pretty good vigorous band of thunderstorms to the north and west of the center. We'll continue to watch it again as it moves away, and it should strengthen over the next 24 hours and possibly becoming a hurricane. A look at the lower 48. We notice the clouds here, but rightfully so. Thunderstorms. More details on this next.
What'll the weather be like where you're going tomorrow? Find out while you're still in bed with a wake-up call from 1-900-WEATHER. Call 1-900-WEATHER for more information.
When your allergies are a nightmare, you need fast relief. You need the power of Zyrtec. Prescription Zyrtec starts working fast and lasts 24 hours. So when allergies are a nightmare, remember the power of Zyrtec. In studies, drowsiness was the most common side effect. Other side effects included fatigue and dry mouth.
Good morning. It's time now for Storm Watch. And so far this morning, we've had some very heavy rain causing some flooding problems for parts of Kansas and Missouri. We'll say more about that coming up in a moment. And also there's a chance for a few big thunderstorms that may likely blossom later this afternoon. We'll have those stories coming up in a moment. But right now it's time for your tropical update. And with all the information regarding Hurricane Darby and the rest of the tropics, here's Dr. Steve Lyons.
Well, thanks, Cheryl. And she's right. Hurricane Darby's out there in the eastern Pacific, right now heading nowhere. We've got another thing in the Atlantic Ocean that we're keeping an eye on, and that's this little cluster of thunderstorms right here. This was our stratocumulus swirl that we've watched come all the way across the Atlantic over the last several days. And it's interacted with an upper-level low in here, and some thunderstorms have sprung up. And that, whenever we get a cluster of thunderstorms this time of year out there in the Atlantic, we're always watching. Let's look a little bit closer at it. Here it is here. You can see here's Puerto Rico, here's South Florida up here, the Bahamas are in here. And you can see the flow behind it is generally fairly much out of the east, but we have a wave axis in there and a lot of thunderstorm activity. At the surface, there's not much signature, and the pressures are very, very high, on the order of 1,016 to 1,020 millibars. Most of the circulation here is above the surface at 850 millibars. At the present motion, it's going to head towards South Florida, the southeast U.S., and hit there sometime around late Saturday night, Sunday morning. And right now, with the current conditions the way they are, we don't expect development out of this, but we still have to keep an eye on it. So stay tuned to the Weather Channel on this. But we can probably expect some rain Saturday night and Sunday in the southeastern U.S. Now, we had been monitoring a tropical wave that had moved through the Caribbean. It's since moved over land here, and you can see some of the showers flaring up on the north edge of that. That's associated with the trough with that tropical wave. That trough is going to skirt over the Yucatan and into the southern Gulf of Mexico, and we'll keep an eye on that for you as well. We don't expect much out of that right now, but still some thunderstorms lingering with it, and we were hoping we could get you some thunderstorms up there in Texas out of that little trough, but we'll have to wait and see. It's a little too early to tell. The rest of the Caribbean, you can see, is really very nice weather out there. As we go out into the central Atlantic, we have some pretty good news there. No tropical cyclone development out there. We have a big surge in high pressure out here coming from the mid-latitudes. And that is very stable air, stratocumulus air, and you can see the interface between that and the tropical air along this convergence line of thunder showers. This line will move into the Windward Islands tonight, produce some showers. It may even affect Puerto Rico in the next 12 to 16 hours as well. But it's pretty much killed off anything that was brewing out in here in the low layers, so we're in great shape in the central Atlantic. Now in the eastern Atlantic, we've been seeing